So I slept in. Yeah, I slept in like a motherfucker. This is the first time I slept in a very long time. So like I woke up today at like 9:30, 9:45. Got everything done. I even uploaded yesterday's video for leg day today. And today's day three. Not no, it's day two technically because I had to record day two. All right, so yeah, today's day two of 75 hours. Did the morning routine, did everything I needed to do. Right now it's about like it's pushing midday. It's pushing noon. Dude, waking up late is so strange. I don't know, man. So last night I slept on my couch. I was in the middle of editing the video I posted today, and I just knocked out. I don't know what happened, man. I can't even. Also, everything's charged. Everything is ready to go. So for today's chest and back day, I'm so excited, dude. As predicted, my legs are dead. I can barely move my legs. Yesterday on the way to church on my bike, dude, it was pain. It was just raw pain. It was actually just like, man, I don't even know. Not okay. But enough stalling. Let's get straight into the workout. Chest and back day. Nothing else to say about that. Let's get it.
All right, boys, we're here at the gym. I already warmed up, ready to go, ready to start the working sets. But today, what I wanted to talk to y'all about was consumption, how much consuming people do. And it was something that really stood out to me is short form content, especially, and music. Now, I know what you're about to say. You're like, Nico, weren't you shitting on Packed Flies? Well, listen, bro. The gym is a little packed today, and not a little, it's actually really packed today. And everything that I want to use is currently being used, so I ain't got no other choice. But somebody that really I've been seriously interested in is Nikola Tesla. Hang on. Because there's a quote by him that says, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, I'm not going to keep count of any of my reps today. I'm just going to try to take every set is close to failure because I went to Starbucks again and had another ice cube macchiato with 5 shots of espresso right now. So I am wired. I have nothing but energy today. But he was telling me, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you should think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibrations. And what is the purest form of frequency? Music. And also, frequency is what you frequently see. I said this a couple times in a few videos in the past, but frequency is what you frequently see, which ties into both music and social media, especially, like I said, short form content. I feel like people don't really realize how much damage that it does to them at a very subconscious level. And a lot of people like to say, oh, that shit is such bullshit. There's no such thing as a conscious versus unconscious, subconscious, and conscious mind. Like they just don't buy it. Which, everyone has their own opinion, but to each their own. I don't know. I really believe it. I believe it. I buy it, right? And that's because of what Tesla said. If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, understand or think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibrations. And a great example of how much music and media can influence you in a direction or even almost direct your emotions are, for example, I used to love horror movies. I loved watching horror movies a lot until I started understanding how directors, editors, and cinema influence people to induce fear. And how you induce fear is not by what is being shown or if the main character is being murdered in a brutal way. One second. The way to induce fear is by music and what is being attacked and on a molecular level. If you've ever seen the study of the way of water, or something like that, something along those lines. There's this Japanese study where it was scientists took water and they had two groups. They said very nice things. They said nice things to the water to one group, and then they said, fuck you, you piece of shit, like fuck you to another one. And then they froze it. And then they converted it to snow. I'm like really making this in a really like watered down version. But if you looked at the snowflakes and the group where you said good things and good, but like it's gonna sound so gay as fuck, but like positive things, vibrationally, the snowflake was pretty. It was more symmetrical. It was very aesthetically pleasing, right? Versus the second group, the snowflakes themselves were very ugly, distorted, and didn't really, weren't aesthetically pleasing. Now, what does that tell you? When you listen to music, when you consume media, and all you do is just consume, 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 especially negative media outlets, imagine what that's doing to you on a molecular level. Why do you think you're watching a horror movie? Have you ever heard that saying, don't cover your eyes, cover your ears? Why? Because sound and vibration and waves go through your ears and they influence how you feel. So, knowing this, if it isn't influenced by what you see, but what you hear and feel, imagine what these frequencies are doing to you when you're constantly feeding yourself, like, for example, secular music. Let's just say how it is, hoe music. Oh, when I listen to this music, it just makes me want to turn into a hoe. Never stop to wonder why. And people are like, "Well, just ignore the music, ignore the lyrics." It's not the lyrics, you idiot. It's not. It actually has to do with the frequencies that are being sent. And it was like, "Oh, but so if you just listen to 432 hertz music, I don't know, man." I'm even like skeptical of that. So for me, I try to avoid listening to music altogether because take for example like Catholic churches and like. I'm talking about churches were around hundreds of years, like for a very, very long time, right? When you take those architecturally speaking, they have geometric shapes and these shapes that are that allow sound to travel. But have you ever stopped to wonder why when you go into like a Catholic church, a Roman Catholic church, it's quiet? You have a sense of peace almost. A lot of those things, a lot of the architecture, the way it's built, it's on purpose. It's very much on purpose. So when hymnals and choruses are traveling at that rate with that architecture in mind, it hits your subconscious at a vibrational level. Yeah, it influences you to feel a certain way, to bring a sense of peace, a sense of harmony and alignment. Oh, holy fuck! All right, let's move on to the next exercise. Another thing, I was saying earlier, is TikTok media. Do y'all remember in like 2022, 2023, and I think 21 too, the whole concept of, oh, bro, you get your whole personality from TikTok? Understand why that happens. You spend 3 to 4 hours of your time consuming 30-second clips, 20-second clips. And if you look at a modern person, what they do is that they will take 0.5 of a second and then scroll. If it doesn't catch their attention instantaneously, they scroll. Holy fuck. They instantly scroll. They instantly just move past to the next thing because it doesn't trigger the dopamine or it doesn't instantly catch their attention. And then people tend to falsely diagnose themselves with ADD, ADHD, and these sorts of things, when in actuality, you've just trained your brain to be disinterested at a subconscious level. So when you spend hours and hours and massive chunks of your day on TikTok or Reels, and it doesn't instantaneously catch your attention, doesn't instantly catch to give you a sense of feeling, a sense of dopamine. And I hate using that word, oh, chemicals in your brain. I hate that shit so much, but that's a whole separate video. But when something doesn't instantaneously grab your attention and you immediately scroll, you're training yourself, you're teaching yourself to be a desire and emotion-based person. What do I mean by that? I mean that if something doesn't instantly interest you, if it doesn't instantly give you a feeling, a sense of emotion, your brain immediately turns off and you don't do it. So then you fall into this trap of like, oh, I think I have ADD, or I feel like I got ADHD. When in actuality, it's like, that's just how you programmed yourself. You programmed your brain. Does that make sense? That's just how you've like wired yourself. But the beautiful thing about that is once you become conscious of that, once you become self-aware enough of that, you can change that, how you perceive information. And you actually become, in my opinion, at least something I learned from deleting the socials, taking out music, is you become more of a critical thinker. You become more aware and have a heightened sense of awareness of the things that are around you. You become more naturally curious. You start wanting to dig into things. For example, if something doesn't instantly grab your attention, but it's something you know you have to do, you get it done anyway, despite how you feel. And then little by little, you build discipline. Let's do this one last set. We move on to the next thing. Hold on, it's good. see if cable flags are open. Let's move on. The most goated chest exercise, in my opinion. That might be a hot take. Who fucking knows? So when you combine those two things, social media and the short-term content with something like music, TikTok, Reels. Think about it this way. When you combine those two things, like secular music and like home music, the short-term content, and you keep training your subconscious, and you keep teaching your subconscious mind that, what are you inevitably going to become? You know what I'm saying? Oh, dude. Whoa. Also, I love this pump cover. It truly covers the whole pump. You know what's crazy? I actually wore this shirt I got the shirt when I was like very, very fat. And this shirt used to be really tight on me. And now it's like a massive blanket. I love it. Oh, I know I made progress. I was saying, when you combine those two things, and you're just training your subconscious mind over and over again to train off of desire and how you feel, how something makes you feel, that's just the type of person you're going to become. You're just going to simply become an emotional person. Constantly going to have these breakdowns. You're going to feel things more than other people, and you're never going to be able to critically think. You're never going to be able to get to a point where you just think for yourself, and you sort of feel like you're constantly being influenced from an outside source. Like, for example, a lot of people get their information from TikTok, but they don't realize that a lot of that information is biased. A lot of that information is just what other people saw on their own For You page, and then they came to their own conclusion. Instagram, YouTube, it's all an algorithm to influence you in a certain direction based on the videos you've seen, based on the videos that you stay and watch, that you entertain the most. And with all this combined with frequencies, vibrations, and energy, you are influenced to have a certain perception in the world. Now, the follow-up question is, who controls that? That's a rabbit hole that you should go down yourself. I ain't gonna say it. I ain't gonna spoil the fun for you. Going down the rabbit hole is the fun part. But that's what makes being curious and the exploration of curiosity fun. But most people are always say, well, curiosity is bad, which I can see that argument. I can see that point of view. Why? Because I can't remember who said this to me, but I remember somebody being like, well, you have to understand curiosity is what made Eve bite from the apple, and what made Adam bite from the apple, which is a valid argument in of itself. But my question to that is, would you rather constantly be influenced from outside sources and never be curious enough to wonder where it's coming from or how it even got there, in a world that is, we're already consumed by it? Like Adam and Eve already bit from the apple. They already committed the first sin, right? Hang on. I promise I'll get to my point in just a second. Oh my God. And we'll put 40 kilo now. Dude, chest and back day. It's very nice. Very, very nice. So the argument is, well, wouldn't you say that curiosity is what made Eve and Adam bite from the apple? Which is fair. It's a fair perspective. But, you know, the first sin is already committed, you know? We're no longer in the Garden of Eden. And the reason why. Think back to when you were a kid, bro. Why do you think those memories always feel so colorful? Like, you remember the world being like very, very bright, very, very colorful. And now you look around the world around you, it's kind of like on a grayscale. It almost feels monotonous. It almost feels like the magic is just completely stripped away, right? And when you think about that, when you were a kid, you didn't worry about money. You didn't worry about all these sorts of things. You were just work. You were simply just living. You were just simply just being. You had this imagination about you. You had this curiosity about you. It was very innocent. At the end of the day, I think that's the goal. Because, you know, when you're innocent, I truly believe that's when you're closest to God. When you were 11, when you had this sense of play and this sense of innocence, like you weren't horny, you weren't worried about that sort of stuff, you weren't worried about that sort of perversion, you were simply just living, innocent. And I truly believe that when you're innocent and just pure, it's the same way. I don't know why. You were just simply just existing without worrying about temptations, without worrying about those sort of stuff. All right, starting off back with close grip, lat pull downs. I think these are awesome, bro. Dude, I love these. I could do these all day. And then we're gonna move on to diverging lat pull down machine. I think those are better than like the actual bar because I don't know. For me, I feel like I get better form in the diverging machine. I don't know. And with this, I tend to swing whenever I do lat pull downs. But am I yapping or am I making sense? Am I making sense? Esoterically, or making sense? Does anyone else have that?
I don't know. For me, recently, on a spiritual sense, I've just been feeling very distant. Does anyone ever have that moment where they just feel a little distant from the creator, from the I am? Anyone else? Was that just, dude, it's toasty. No, when I stepped outside, when I was walking here, dude, it was hot. It was so hot. I was drinking my coffee. Can you imagine that? 5 hours, especially not 2 p.m. Jesus. This is why I don't like, I hate sleeping in. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it because I feel so discombobulated. You know, I haven't eaten anything because I like doing my workouts in a fast state. I don't know, I just feel better wired in, more focused, I'm more on the quality of rep. I don't know, I just like to earn my meal. Is that a weird way to live? Does anyone else have that moment of just where they just feel distant? I don't know. I feel like I want to go on a bulk soon, but I still ain't got no abs. So why would I go on a boat? You know, I'm so fat. But anyway, what I was saying earlier is, does anyone else have that season where they just feel a little distant from the creator? And I've been really reflecting on it. It's because it's a little bit of a concern of mine. Because whenever where I feel distant from him, where I don't feel his presence, where I don't feel that closeness with him, I sit and wonder, is this a test? Is he testing my faith? Is he strengthening my faith? Does he wants to see? Does he wants to see if I go back to old bad habits, or if I'll fall, or if I trip up, if I go running back to my old vices? I guess that's also another reason why I started 75 hard, because it occurred to me this morning actually. Like, why am I doing 75 hard? Why do I feel so distant from God? Why does my spirit feel so far from Him, even though I'm chasing after Him? And it occurred to me that when you're having a relationship with the Creator, it is that a relationship. So obviously, it's because you believe you will not be tested, right? And for some reason, I wanted to start reflecting on my past relationships, like physical ones, friendships, exes, the whole shebang. Oh fuck! I'm about to be real naked with you guys. You know, I started listing off reasons why I should feel His closeness. You know, I started praying. I'm like, God, I'm doing this, that, and the other. Why do you feel so far away from me? I started listing things. I'm like, in my prayers, I'm like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this. I'm cutting out this. I'm leaving this behind. Despite the temptations that are there, despite the pull to want to go back to those things, I'm ignoring it. I'm fasting, I'm reading the Bible, I'm doing this, that, and the other. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I build a mind that controls the lower nature, right? The serpent. So I control my temptations, I control myself, I don't fall into the desires. Right? And then in the middle of that, it occurred to me, a question like just popped in my head, like, why do I feel like I have to prove myself? Like, why do I have to prove that I'm worthy of His love? And then my follow-up question is, why do I feel like I have to prove myself for any sort of love? To feel closeness, to feel seen, to feel recognized, to feel like that I'm worthy of that closeness, to feel that I'm worthy of His presence, right? Sort of went off as a little bit of a You know, I'm gonna switch up. It sort of went off as a bit of a red flag for me. Because then I started reflecting, and I'm like, damn, I do tend to fall into this trap, this mental prison that I inflict on myself. I literally do it to myself. I don't know where it began. I don't know where it started. But somewhere along the way, I always felt like I had to prove myself. Even though it's just in the Bible that he wants us to go to him as sinners. He wants us to give the temptation, the sin, the bad habits to him. That's why he died on the cross for us, for our sins. So when you understand the whole concept and the idea of the cross and why he died for our sins, like why we are supposed to be washed in his blood, in the blood of Christ, it all sort of makes sense. We're supposed to bring ourselves to him, and he teaches us. It says in Matthew that his yoke is light and he's gentle in heart. I think about that verse a lot. It says, "Come to me, all you who are heavy laden, and my yoke is light and I'm gentle-hearted." I lost count, so I don't even know if that was the same amount of reps on each hand. But dude, I'm telling you, this one's gonna be crazy. Oh fuck. Understanding this and understanding that it makes sense as to why he loved us despite our sins. He sees something in us that we had yet to see. Right? So when you give up control, when you give up trying to, at least this is what I think I'm supposed to be learning, taking away from all this. I have to quit trying to get the answer myself. I have to try to stop fixing the problems myself, because I found myself wanting to be perfect before God and be like, God, look at all these things that I'm doing. Can I please just get recognized by you, my Father? That's all I really, really want, right? Just to be seen by the Heavenly Father. But that's the problem with that, is that I'm already good enough for him. And I sort of fallen into this trap of like self-improvement, where I'm constantly pointing out all my flaws. And instead of building the relationship, instead of praying, instead of moving forward with Christ and being like, God, here are my struggles. Here I am. I give myself who I am to you, this current version of me. Please wash my sins away. I want to be white as wool. And I want you to refine me, to forge me into the person that you see me being, the man that you want me to be. The example, the testimony. Because look at the 12 disciples. None of them are perfect. They were grown-ass adults, right? And he said, follow me and I will make you a fisher of, instead of fishermen, I will make you fisher of man. You know, each one had their own issues. One was wrathful, others were lustful, others, you know, had depression, anxiety, and all these sorts of things. They were imperfect people, and he still chose them. And that's sort of where I've been overlooking. I don't know. I could be yapping, but let me know. I think it's time to move on to the next one. I feel like I've been here for a while. Let's get it.
I find this the funniest part of my gym, is that the bathroom has the best possible lighting.
I completely forgot I was wearing shades. Holy cow. Chill. Dude, I feel like I do need lifting tracks because I feel like my back, other than my legs, is seriously lacking. I don't know. Maybe it's the body dysmorphia talking. Who fucking knows? But, let's see. Pretty solid chest and back day, not gonna lie, but didn't like how packed it was today. I'm sorry, I'm getting really used to people staring at me and looking at me, giving me strange looks. They're like, this guy's recording himself with the gym. Who the fuck does he think he is? I'm sorry, I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to it. Which I'm very, very happy about. But solid day, to say the least, at the gym. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your opinions. If I was yapping or if I actually was spizzing, but let me know. But yeah, every day we get a little better. Every day we get closer to God. Every day we get closer to our goals. We keep moving forward. Yeah, later I'm gonna do my outdoor workout, bike to church, and yeah, let's get it.